Hello and welcome. Another day, another problem. This time I'm assuming it's the immobiliser. We've got some intermittent faults with this car. It did start and now it won't start. So we've got ignition, got all the lights come on. It was running, it did start, and it's decided now not to start. So it does have an immobiliser. So the idea is you put the transponder in, press, activate it, start it, check it's not in gear, nothing. So the immobiliser has been wired into the ignition circuit. So I'm going to get under there and do a bit of digging and see what we can find. First of all, we'll check if we've got power. So here's our little test. Here's our little test light. We'll find an earth or ground point under there. So we'll test this and see if we're getting juice. Right, that big wire there is the main feed from the battery. So we're getting power in from the battery. Right, that's fine. So that's been linked probably to the alarm there. Now that is the starter. That goes to the start of an ignition key. So that's been cut into, and that's the other end of it. So what I've done is I've taken a little live feed from the battery. So I've taken a quick little live feed from the battery. That's it there. So I'm going to be very careful. So here's our test light, and we'll just see if that is live. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this live because the starter won't work on the key. So I'm going to try this live on the starter. See if this thing's not in gear. Nope. Right. So the starter works. That's our live feed from the battery. That's the starter wire. Right, so we're getting somewhere. The next thing is find out where the alarm box is. So I'll have a dig under there. I'll disconnect this from the battery because I don't want it flapping about live in the car. I'll disconnect that from the battery and I'll have a dig in there and see what we can find. I have disconnected the battery completely. So we're safe, there won't be any wires catching or anything. Right, there is a non-standard, that's not Lancia. So probably that up there, that box is probably the alarm box. So let's get in there and have a look. Right, that's the baby there. There was a few self tappers holding it in, but there it is, an M36T immobiliser. Right, black box. So usefully, every wire is black off it. There's another that was plugged in. I think that's the transponder on and off switch there. Right, so these will all be spliced in to the various ignition wires. So there's a lot of them. Look at that lot. Okay, I'll get up on top. I'll pull the ignition. I'll get that. Let me turn this off a minute while I get that wire off. Right, that's the wire. That's the ignition. That's the leads off the ignition. So there's a little clip on there which you need two hands to take off. So that's off there. Right, that is the main starter switch. So there are feeds. That green and black feed, as far as I can see, goes to the fuel injection relay, and there's a feed from the fuel injection relay to the with the fuel pump relay. So I've got the wiring diagrams, so I'm going to try and make sense of that. So you can see how these have been joined. Well, there's two wires there, so there must be one in and one out of the alarm. So these were insulated. I've pulled the insulating tape off these here, and I've disconnected the battery. So that must be a power feed to keep, because that's the live wire from the battery. That must be a power feed to the alarm box to keep it running all the time and keep this transponder flashing. I'll see if we can find where these link to. As I say, usefully every one of them's black. Oh, maybe to confuse car thieves. Well, it's confusing me. Right, I'll carry on. Right, we're getting somewhere. That's the transponder wire. See, it went right behind the dash, but I don't think it actually goes anywhere. There's the end of it there. I think I've just wrapped it up because it's a bit long. I hope it's not. I'm saying that. I hope it's not going anywhere. No, it's just okay. It's just wrapped around. It's just wrapped around something else. Right. Okay. So there. That's the transponder wire. So that's a bit long, isn't it? I don't think it goes anywhere else. But before I cut it off, I'll make sure that if I do find anywhere where it goes, it might have a secret. It might have a secret end somewhere. So there's our box. There's our wires. I need to make sense of this. Look at that. A great big snotty solder about half an inch away from there. How are we going to rescue that? Bloody hell. All right. Okay. As Father said, okay, so let's keep digging. That wire there, that is from the ignition switch. That's our live feed in. That's the starter motor wire, and that red and black wire, according to our chart, is that wire there, and that goes up to the ignition coil. So that, I've written that down because I looked at to save myself having to look it all up. So that red and black wire goes to the coil. So there's the red and black wire. It comes off, it goes down into the box, and there, right up there, is the tail, the other end of the red and black wire. So that's the wire to the coil. So that and that are going to join together and reach all the way to the ignition switch. Now, yesterday I went to the electricians and I bought two sizes of connecting block. Now, I'm not happy about, we're going to have to put a section in that wire. Now, I'm not, I hope I don't have to do that to all of them. That's going to be a bit untidy. But it'll be secure. I can make it secure, but I'm not so happy about having all those bits and bobs in there. But I might have to do that. So at least we found one wire that we can cut and join. That's that red and black wire to the coil. So I'll do that now. I'm going to leave that end in place. So I'll leave that soldered joint. I'll put a bit of tape around and make that secure. So I'll leave that tail on. That I've cut that off the alarm box. Strip that back. So that the length of that is enough to reach the ignition switch. So that is off the coil wire on the back of the ignition switch. Bloody state of that. So I can't reuse that, so I'm going to have to cut that there, strip it back and put a connecting block in. But I'll have to make sure that there's no restrictions on it where it fits into the ignition. So I'll check that, but that's what I'll do. I'll leave that soldered one in place. That's okay. I don't need to disturb that joint. I'll put a bit of red tape around it and make it look nice. So on this end we'll connect it to here with one of our connecting blocks. Right, that's connected. So that's the coil wire. As I say, I've left that in place. I've left that soldered joint in place. So that's the live feed to the coil. Next one is the starter. There's the end of the starter there. So I think what I'll do, that's what we're left with on the plug. So I think I'll leave that. I'll insulate that properly and leave that, because that's all we're left with. We can't put anything on there really successfully, and I might damage the plug. So I'll do the same as that. Cut that off. I've cut that off there at the alarm box, and then I'll join that one. You move out of the way. I'll cut that black wire off, tidy this end up, and then splice those two together there, and then we'll have power to the starter. I've insulated that starter feed wire. I've connected it to the original starter feed wire there, and insulated that connecting block. That's the live feed. I've cut the wire off that fed the power to the alarm. Insulated that. That's insulated to there. That block is insulated to there. So we've bypassed the alarm as far as the ignition switch is concerned, but there's one wire left which disappears up there somewhere. We don't know what that does. So I'll plug these things back into the ignition, and I'll see if I can find what that wire does there, where that goes to. That was easy enough. That black wire. Get out of the way. That black wire that we were looking at, that's just an earth, and that goes up to there, so that's easily disconnected. So this is what we're left with. A bit of a mess, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect everything up and see if we've done the right thing. It's plugged back in. The wires are long enough that they reach the plugs. That's in place. That's a pretty wire, the black and yellow one. Right, they're all in place. I'm going to connect the battery and see if it works. Right, the battery's connected. The wiring's in place. There's no smoke, no heat. The joints seem cool. Let's see what we've got. And we've got ignition. We've got all the lights are going. That's fine. So we've got ignition. Let's see if this feeds the starter. Not in gear. Right. So what we've done is, I mean, obviously the car's still not starting, but what we've done here is we've removed the immobiliser and bypassed it, and that wasn't too difficult. So we've sorted that out. I'll put the transponder back in that hole to block a hole, tidy that hole up, and then I'll put the shroud back and tidy this all up, and then I'll find out why the fuel pump isn't working. We'll call it a day on this. Thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.